And Levi's Stadium is where things kick off. An NFC West divisional matchup. Seattle at San Francisco. The Niners laying 9.5 or 10. Depending on where you're looking, it was as high as 10.5 at some books. There's been some buyback on the dog. And later at night, it's been a wow bowl between LA and Jacksonville. Chargers making their first postseason appearance in 2018. Jags 2017. Bolts opened up 2.5. It's been bet down to 1.5 at Caesars Sportsbook. Taking a look at the ATS scoreboard. Brady Quinn and Pete Prisco. Last week, Brady, 2 games under 500. Although he does have the overall lead, Prisco does have the edge in best bets.
We need to explain the fact that I had to pick an additional game because the week prior's best bet had to do with the Bills-Bengals game. So that's why I ended up being 8-10 as opposed to his 10-7. So there's where the math evens out. My best bet was an over-under on the Bills-Bengals game. We obviously had to respect and want to deal with it.
It doesn't matter. We decided before the season that whoever had the most best bets right was the winner of this.
Oh, that was what it was?
Yeah. There's no reason to even put overall record in.
That hasn't been the case.
Whenever you have a best bet, people run for the high hills.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be full honest. Whatever I put as my best bet, just fade it. Just pick the exact opposite because that will happen. I've been awful on best bets, but I am kicking your butt.
You are, but I'm kicking your butt with the best bets, though. Okay. And really, ideally, you wouldn't pick all the games. You just pick.
Oh, no, I'd pick all the games. People who do it professionally, yeah, they spread it out.
Yeah.
It's called diversity. Yeah, that's usually what you try to diversify.
But by the way, it ain't over yet.
It's not. Because even though you lost the regular season, and usually that's the line of demarcation.
No, it isn't. We carried it over last year.
That's the line for demarcation for Pete in the past. Since he's a loser right now, he wants his chance to get back into it. I'm letting us go into the playoffs.
No, we let it go in last year because
I'm letting us go into the playoffs.
I let it go back into the playoffs last year.
I'm winning. I'm letting us go into the playoffs. Okay. You're just a loser.
I let you go back into
the
playoffs.
You're just a loser right now.
For the regular season, I am the regular season loser.
I love how I parachute in, and there's different rules, best bets, what are sort of tiebreakers.
Well, and Pete will change the rules when it doesn't suit him.
He won the regular season. There's no doubt about that.
All right.
But he had bad best bets.
Pete Prisco, Brady Quinn, I'm Tommy Trent. So, guys, let's start with Saturday. Seattle and San Francisco. We've seen some line movement here, 9.5 or 10. Niners winning both the games this season. Week 2 was the first matchup where Trey Lance broke his ankle. Jimmy G came in relief. Then we saw Week 15 Monday Night Football, Brock Purdy for Bang Bang Niner Gang. So, Brady, I'm going to start with you because you're kind of teetering a little bit on your selection here. What's the play and why are you struggling a little bit?
It's a big number. It's divisional teams, right? So we've seen these two teams play twice this season. And it's tough to be able to team it twice, let alone 3 times. And that's what the San Francisco 49ers have done. Now, the first matchup, Week 2, the 49ers blew out the Seattle Seahawks. And their defense was atrocious for a good portion of the season. But they have improved. They started to get better. And I think you saw that last matchup on the short week up in Seattle, a little closer affair between the two. It's a big number in a playoff game, so that's where I give a little hesitance here. There's 2 surprises, though. It's the fact that, one, Seattle's here. I don't know that anyone predicted before the season they were going to be a playoff team, trading Russell Wilson away and Geno Smith being their starting quarterback, but give them all the credit in the world for getting to this point. And then Brock Purdy, the Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick of the draft, the rookie quarterback, how well he's played for San Francisco in this spot. I mean, Pete, I don't know how you foresee this happening, but the only thing that gives me a little comfort in taking the 9.5 points is he is a rookie, and he hasn't been played at the playoff level yet. And so I think this game could end up being a little tighter. I like the over better than I like the spread here, but I'll go ahead and take the 9.5 points because I'm banking on the fact that eventually this hot streak that Brock Purdy's been on, we're going to see him come down to earth a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be here, though. I think you're right. At some point in the postseason, it's going to show up, and it's going to be time. Okay, it's time for you to go do it and win the game, and we don't know if he can do that,
right,
particularly in the postseason. He's done it in the regular season one time against the Raiders, but that's it. That's the only time he had to do it. Can he do it in the playoffs? I don't think it matters here. I think the 49ers will dominate Seattle in this game. I think they will play much better on defense than what they played in the last couple weeks of the season. And they will limit what they do in the passing game on the other side. So I will lay the 9.5 points. I'll take the Niners.
From a Seattle perspective, obviously the defense will have to come to play. But if they are to keep it within the number or even win this game, guys, do you think it has to be more of a Ken Walker game or a Geno Smith game?
To me, it has to be a Kenneth Walker game. But I do think that plays into Geno Smith not turning over the football. He's got to take care of it. He's going to have to use his legs. Like, Geno Smith is going to have to be able to elude Nick Bosa, who's the defensive player of the year and one of the best edge rushers. I mean, they're not going to be able to protect him the entire game. So he has to use his legs. He has to take off, be a part of that rushing attack, but he's got to take care of the football. You cannot give this 49ers offense and Christian McCaffrey a short field and then just basically give gimmies to Brock Purdy all day where he doesn't feel the pressure of what a playoff game is supposed to feel like.
Yeah, Geno Smith is much more important in what he does in this game, but for him to do that, you're right. Kenneth Walker has to take the pressure and the pass rush off of him, and if he doesn't, it's going to be a long day for Geno Smith.
If this becomes a drop-back game for Geno Smith, that's not the recipe for success for Seattle.
All right. By the way, we talked about it, and Brady, you mentioned it, beating a team 3 times, let alone in the division. Of course, Niners last year, we know both regular season game against the Rams, lost in the NFC title game there out at SoFi Stadium. The other team that takes care of the home games at SoFi Stadium, the Chargers at Jacksonville with a total of 47.5. Now the line's 1.5. Pete, you called this the hair bowl. Did you not hear between the two quarterbacks?
Hair. That's what it is.
Air hair.
Okay. Well, I mean, and I'm jealous, by the way, but it is air hair. Look, these two quarterbacks are phenomenal, both of them. But they're both playing in the first playoff game. We talk about Brock Purdy. These two are playing in the first playoff game. The intensity will rise. I don't think it will matter. I think both guys are going to put up big numbers. Jacksonville's defense has been better. I get it. They were better last week, but you're playing Josh Dobbs. You're not playing Justin Herbert. There's a big difference there. I think the Chargers will score. Remember, Jacksonville blew them out early in the season. Herbert had a rib injury. Keenan Allen wasn't in that game. Mike Williams had 1 catch in that game. Well, they're all back, and they're putting up numbers at a high rate now, and I think that's going to be a problem for Jacksonville. But on the flip side, I think they're vulnerable also to the pass. I think they'll run the ball to get, like you said, with Kenneth Walker, they'll run the ball with ETN to take the pressure off of Lawrence, and he'll hit some shots. First 1 to 30 wins, Jacksonville will win it and cover the number.
Wow, look at that. The mayor of Jacksonville. Now, again, I'll remind our folks who watch this every single week, Tommy, we actually looked at Pete's picks while picking the Jaguars this season. They've been like my best bets. They've been absolutely atrocious. I mean, you may only got like 4 or 5 right.
Got last week right.
That was probably one of the only ones.
Got last week right.
So I'm on the other side of this one. I think this is a tough game to pick. I mean, we originally were looking at it as a pick-em. Now I'm laying a 1.5 here with the Chargers. I just think this is the moment where, for Brandon Staley and Justin Herbert, this is their time to win a playoff game, make a little bit of a run. If you want to take any pressure off of the rumors swirling around about Sean Payton and what team he wants to come coach for, this is how you do it. And I think you got to do it versus a Jacksonville team that they've made so much progress this year. They're not quite there yet, in my opinion. I think the Chargers are much further along. My only hesitance here is the fact that it is on the road. You are a West Coast team, but they should be up for this.
Short week, too?
Short week, too. That plays a factor in it. But Bosa's back. You know, they missed him for a good portion of the season. Defensively, I think they're going to be better. I think it's going to be tough for that Jaguars offensive line to hold up against the pass rush of the LA Chargers. So I'll lay the 1.5 here.
Oh, by the way,
over, which I think you like too.
Now that I think about it, I missed last week, so you're right. The trend continued.
Oh, you did miss last week.
And the reason I missed is because Philly's special itis showed up again.
Here we go.
I mean, Doug Peterson is one of the best play callers in the National Football League, but every game there's one play where he thinks he's back in Philadelphia running the Philly special in the Super Bowl.
Here we go.
Oh, we tracked
5-12.
The Prisco
I brought this up last week because I've been tracking it. The mayor of Jacksonville, Pete Prisco, has been atrocious picking basically your team.
They're not my team.
You're your team.
He always picked them. It's kind of like Lige Duzable always picking the Jets.
Yeah,
he's a little biased, though.
Yeah, look, the bottom line is they're going to win this game, and then I think that's where the run ends.
Oh, okay. Is that where it ends?
Yeah.
This is surprising me, by the way. And you said it's air hair. Whose hair would you rather have?
Oh.
Yeah. I don't. I like my hair. None.
Herbert, you like a little curl wave to it, or you like
a little flow bucket, or more of like the?
I wouldn't look. Back in the 80s, you might have had it hanging out the back, but I'm not going to do that anymore.
So you're just not going to pick one. If you had to pick one, you can.
I'm not a big
quarterback skills.
Ooh, I'd probably go with Herbert a little bit right now because he's got more experience and he's done it longer.
This is why.
Who would you take?
I'd take Herbert right now, but I think Trevor Lawrence is right there too.
Long trip.
Long trip. Look, they've won 4 of the last 5. Like, my only hesitation, I think, too, is watching the fact that they actually played their starters last week, and Williams gets banged up.
Which was a dumb decision.
It was a bad decision. We talked about this.
Yeah.
And then Mike Williams gets hurt. He's taken off on a stretcher. Now, I know he's day-to-day with the back injury, but that could flare up in this game.
Plus, we always have the possibility of chargering.
Yeah, that's true.
They've done it before, chargering.
Market going to Jacksonville, but I'll end with this. The Chargers, one of the best ATS teams this season. They've been 11-5-1. Recapping the first 2 games on Saturday, again, Brady, Seahawks, 9.5, more so the over. Pete likes the Niners laying that number. They're on opposite sides of the Jags-Chargers game, but also I should say, both liking the over at 47.5. By the way, guys, according to Elias Sports Bureau, this year's wildcard round will feature all rematches of the regular season, the 5th time since the 70 merger, 22, 9, 4, 1994, and 1992. It includes Dolphins-Bills, no Tua Tagovailoa. Guys will react to Mike McDaniel not having his franchise game when we come back. Sunday. Here are the wild card games. Dolphins-Bills has now seen this line get up to 13 with the news that Tua Tagovailoa will not participate, been ruled out. It was sitting at 9 at Caesars Sportsbook, now just under 2 touchdowns. Giants and Vikings holding steady at 3. Ravens-Bengals seeing Cincinnati with an uptick of a half point. Still questions surrounding the health of Lamar Jackson, former MVP, and whether he's going to give it a go.
Joe Musso makes me want to put a helmet on and hit somebody.
It's a Musso special.
I love it.
It makes me want to hit somebody.
Crafted.
They need to let him. Somebody needs to pay him to come in pregame. Right. Pregame speech. Let the Moose do it.
Yeah.
Let Moose
on the
cook.
loose.
Moose on the loose.
Yeah, there you go.
Joe Musso, we got your back. Commission, you can Venmo all of us here. Back here with Brady Quinn, Pete Prisco, Tommy Tran. All right, so let's get to that line movement, guys, because both of you guys like Buffalo, but you liked it at 9. Do you still like it all the way up to 13, Brady? I'll start with you here.
I do. Again, you've got a rookie quarterback in Skylar Thompson who's slated to be the starter for Miami. These teams split during the course of the regular season, but that was back when Tua was playing quarterback for them. When they were Miami was actually to win one of these games. So bottom line, Buffalo's playing at a different level. They've got the advantage playing at home too, especially the conditions. I think they'll do a good job of shutting down the rushing attack, putting this game on Skylar Thompson's shoulders, and that's where he's going to have trouble. If you take away the speed of Tyreek Hill, you take away his big playability, you're going to have problems looking elsewhere. So I feel comfortable even at 13 points. It's a big line, divisional game. I know I'm kind of contradicting myself from the first segment, but this one's different as far as how these two teams are matching up.
I agree. I think this is a big problem for Miami. The only way they can win this game, the only way, is if they play like the Patriots did in the weather game. That's the only way.
Ran the ball the entire time.
Run it and run some more. They averaged 7 yards per carry the last time they played them in Buffalo and got away from it. 3 third and shorts in the second half, didn't run the ball. And you can't do that here, not with a rookie quarterback on the road in the postseason. I just think this is bad because Buffalo will get theirs, and when they get theirs, then Skylar Thompson's going to be forced to press, and I think when he presses, that's going to be a problem. So I think Buffalo will blow them out, win by about 16-17, and move on to the next round.
To your point, Raheem Mostert had injury to keep an eye on. I believe it was his thumb, if I'm not mistaken. So ball carrier, clearly that's going to be important, not only for ball security, but whether or not and how effective he can be in this matchup with the Dolphins' rushing attack.
Armstead, too, at left tackle. He's still uncertain whether he's going to play or not.
So you guys are both bullish at this number 2, and as we take a look at Tua Tagovailoa and all of the starters, with Tua when he starts a game, Miami and Mike McDaniel 8-5, just 1-3 the other way. Quickly here to follow up on Buffalo. Questions about the defense, gentlemen, maybe after this game, potentially in the divisional and AFC Championship game. What concerns do you guys have about the Bills' defense at the moment?
To me, it's their ability to stop the run.
Yeah,
that's more what I'm concerned with. They're built to rush the passer, cover on the back end. They do get Micah Hyde back this week. However, I don't think he's going to play in this one. I think they're saving him for 2 weeks from now. They are starting to get a little healthier back there, but to me, it's more about stopping the run.
And he's a big part of what they do in the run game. He's actually a really good tackler. But, we talk about stopping the run, but the reason they signed Von Miller was for sack, fumble, game over in the fourth quarter against these good quarterbacks. Who will be that guy? Yeah. That's the question now without Von Miller there.
All right, let's move on to the Giants and the Vikings. This one within a field goal. Brian Dable and company catching 3, and that total at 48.5. It's one of the higher totals that we're going to see Super Wildcard Weekend. Christmas Eve, home by 3. The spread was Minnesota laying 4.5. Both of you guys are on the Giants catching the points here. Pete, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I am. And the last time they should have beat them. I mean, they had 450 yards of total offense. They moved up and down the field. They had some key drops in that game where if you watch the game again, you saw, look, there's an opportunity. They catch that ball, they win that game. Then they get beat on a 61-yard field goal. That doesn't happen all the time. The reason I do is, look, people say the Vikings are frauds. I've made that mention before. -3, that's a really bad point differential for a team that has all those victories and a division title. I think the Giants and Brian Dable have a great matchup against that defense. And you know what happens? This is a big moment for Daniel Jones. Go make your money. Yeah. You go win a playoff game, they're going to pay him. And every time he does win a playoff game, I think it goes up.
They're going to have to pay him.
They will.
Obviously, he was able to earn that this year with his way he's played, and obviously the job Brian Daboll has done with him. But it's also about the Vikings and whether or not they can stop Saquon Barkley. To me, that's what makes this offense go for the Giants. You talked about the issues, too. Minnesota had stopping the passing game with Daniel Jones. They showcased, even though they're not the most prolific team in the NFL, they can light that secondary up. So that's one where I'm with you. I think the last game was close. Minnesota needed, a 61-yard field goal in order to win it. I think the Giants can not only keep this one close, but probably outright go and win it. I've been hearing a lot from my buddy Tim, who's a big Giants fan. He was getting on me for saying that I didn't have high optics for, or I wasn't optimistic about what the season was going to look like. The bottom line is they're here now. So now this is time for Daniel Jones and the rest of this Giants team to try to make a run, surprise a bunch of people. The defense is vastly improved. And I guess I'll just ask you this. Is this a big game for Kirk Cousins?
I was going to ask you that. Is it?
I mean,
yes, it is.
He's the more
played
experienced.
Well.
He's
Look,
played
I'm
great
going to give him
this
some credit. He's played well this year. He's played
well for the last 8 years.
He's carried that team because he's been forced to, because the defense is terrible.
Yeah.
So he's been forced to do so. By the way, if you really pinned your buddy Tim down, he probably didn't think they'd be this good either.
Well, that was my response. I don't know that anyone foresaw you guys being a playoff team. That being said, they're here now. I'll go ahead and take those 3 points. I also think if they're going to win this game, it's going to be an under. I don't think they win in a shootout. Even as good as Daniel Jones, the Giants looked the last game putting up yards in production, I look at this different than you do. I think this has to be a lower scoring game if this thing's going to be tight.
I know an 87-year-old man that's very happy the Giants are in the postseason. My dad. He loves them.
They'll get to see the Giants. By the way, we saw that graphic with Minnesota and the negative point differential.
New York has a negative
Exactly. So we have two teams.
Yeah, but they're on the road. They're a wild card.
Correct.
You're talking about a division winner.
Yeah.
A 13-game winner.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's surprising.
And lastly, guys, we get to Baltimore now, a full 7 against Cincinnati with a total at 42. It had been sitting at 6.5 because we're still trying to figure out Lamar Jackson and whether he comes back with that knee or not. He will not have played since December 4th. So Brady, quarterback-wise, what thoughts do you have? Let's just assume or even maybe be hopeful that Lamar can play.
If he does come back, if it is indeed a PCL injury to his knee, it's something that I tore in my bowl game, my last game of my college career, it's not going to feel right. I can promise you that. I mean, it didn't feel right for me probably for about 12, 14 weeks. And at that point in time, you're looking at yourself saying, is it just going to feel like this the rest of my career? Because it just feels a little more loose. You can do the best you can rehabbing it. No one surgically is going to reattach your PCL. So it just is what it is. He's a dynamic runner. And that's where it's going to impact his game. Can he play well enough from the pocket? It's hard to think that he's going to be able to go, from not playing for 6 weeks, jump into that sort of intensity in a playoff game and be the same type of player. So I'm laying the points here, the Cincinnati Bengals. I know these teams split earlier this season, but if you go back to that Week 5 game, Burrow and the offense were still kind of putting it all together, and obviously Lamar was a part of that. The most recent victory, Lamar wasn't a part of that game, and you see the difference too in the Baltimore Ravens offense. The Bengals defense has improved enough, though, I think, even if Lamar plays in this game, he's not going to be the same. I think they can shut down the Ravens' rushing attack.
Lamar wants the Deshaun Watson guaranteed contract. That's what I've heard. He wants that guaranteed contract, and the team is reluctant to give it to him. They made a great offer to him, more than anybody but that guaranteed contract. And he said no. Well, the best way to prove your value is if you do play in this game and you can't run the way you normally run, then stand in that pocket and make throws.
Yep.
If he goes back there and he can't run and he still puts up a big number, then all of a sudden the Baltimore Ravens look at him and they say, oh my gosh, we had doubts about him doing this, because he's made plays in the pocket, but it's much easier to make plays in the pocket when you have the threat of the ability to get outside and run the football. So I think if he plays, it's a big opportunity for him. Having said all that, even if he plays, I think the Bengals are on a roll. They have an 8-game winning streak. I mean, they are rolling into the postseason, and I think that offense is going to be tough to stop. I'll take the Bengals minus the points.
If this is about the contract, because I know that's been floated out there, and maybe that's playing a factor in his mind of whether or not he wants to tough it out and try to play or not. It can't feel good when you watch another player sign a $100 million deal in Roquan Smith. You're happy for him, but he also negotiated his own deal, at least reportedly. And what is it, $45 million, whatever it is, guaranteed average annual value of $20 million per year. When you get leapfrogged by an off-the-ball inside backer, and granted, you knew eventually they were going to have to pay him too, it's got to be frustrating. And I wonder how that's factoring into his mindset with whether he plays or not. because of the contract situation.
I think they did that so they can protect themselves to franchise tag him if they have to. That's why they did that with Roquan Smith. You give assets up for Roquan Smith, you have to find a way to keep him. If you can't get the deal done with Lamar Jackson, you get the deal done with him, and then you can tag Lamar Jackson. I think that's why they did that. But again, you're right. If you're in the back of your head, that's got to be there. And you could also be sitting there saying, hey, we traded to go get Roquan Smith and spend a boatload of money for him. How about getting me some help on the outside? I mean, there's a lot of things at play here. I think he'll find a way to play. I don't think there's any doubt about the competitiveness of him. So I think he's going to try and play. It's just, if, like you said, if that knee is loose and he can't run around, then why risk it?
The only thing I'd say to counter that, though, is the franchise tag for an off-the-ball inside backer would be much cheaper than what it's going to cost them for Lamar Jackson. Remember, that one-year franchise tag, especially the exclusive franchise tag, is going to hit your salary cap in a big way. So you're not going to have quite as much.
You can get the deal done with Roquan. You can't get the deal done.
Well, you don't know that yet. The season's not over. You haven't come to that point where you have to make that decision. Usually deadlines do deals, and this is one where I feel like maybe the deadline's already there for them.
Right,
and
they're protecting themselves.
So, yep, maybe.
We got to wrap this up, but I just need a yes or no before we go to break. If Lamar Jackson cannot play, this number's going to get to 7.5 or 8. Do you still like Cincinnati, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Both like Cincinnati, even if that number gets to 7.5 or 8. Guys, great stuff as
2
always.
and 10. You know what that is?
Well, it's 2 and 8 now.
It's 1 and 8, but that's
no. It's 2 and 8.
I said that
you have
that Prisco math.
Yeah.
Both guys on Buffalo with that number extended to 13. Both on the Giants catching a field goal, and both on Cincinnati. And again, shop around for that number. Keep tabs. Both guys still like it at 7.5 or 8. All right, one more to go. Monday Night Football in the Super Wild Card Weekend. Tom Brady, Dak Prescott. Cowboys laying 2.5 in a rematch from Week 1. All right, let's tackle that Monday Night Football game back here with Brady Quinn and Pete Prisco. So the number's 2.5. There are 3s out there in the market with a total of 45.5. Pete, I'm going to start with you because I took Dallas, and many people in the betting market teased Dallas down to just 1 point. All they had to do was beat the Commanders, and they weren't able to do that, so a lot of teaser bets went pew. So people are hesitant to back Dallas on the road against a team which Chris Hassel alluded to. They struggle against Tom Brady as a Buck. So why are you taking the 2.5 here?
Well, I think that game, you can talk all you want about. They knew what the Eagles were. If the Eagles might lose, they could get the number 1 seed. I mean, the top seed and win that division. But here's what happened. They knew the Giants weren't playing anybody. So deep down in the back of their mind, they knew the game didn't matter. The Eagles were going to win their game.
Why did the Cowboys play the starters?
That I don't understand. That I don't understand. And they played him and exposed him because Dak Prescott was terrible in that game.
That might have been his worst game of the year.
It was awful. It was awful. But here's why they're going to win this game. They haven't won a road playoff game since 1992. They haven't won a road playoff game in the blue jerseys, the dark jerseys, which they'll be wearing, since Roger Staubach was playing. Think about that. That's incredible. But they'll win this game because their defensive line will get after Tom Brady. The one thing that Brady has, and any quarterback, but particularly Brady, if you go back and look at his playoff history, the teams that beat him, the Giants in the Super Bowl,
knock him down.
The Jets, they knock him down, and they make him jumpy. And he starts to see those ghosts, and he's ducking and bobbing and weaving. That's what the Cowboys will do. I'm worried about the offensive line of the of the Bucks. I think they're going to cause problems with their pass rush, and Brady is going to have a rough day. I like the Cowboys to win this game.
There's no doubt about it. I think that would be the most decisive mismatch between these two teams and how they match up versus one another. Now, Brady does get back Ryan Jensen at center. That should help solidify at least the interior of the pocket.
Hasn't played all year, though.
He hasn't played all year, but he's played a lot of football in his career. I think he'll be okay. And if you've got at least the interior of the pocket solidified, Brady does a good job if anyone is stepping up into it. And you can handle the edges with tight ends, with running back chips, sliding one way to give a little extra help too. Now, again, Dan Quinn's one of the better D coordinators. He can scheme some things up. And the counter to that is getting the ball out of Brady's hands quick. And that's something he's done the entire season.
Best in the league.
He's the best in the league at it. So you better believe they're going to try to tire out that front, a lot of quick passes, screens, things quick to the outside. And we'll see then how the Dallas Cowboys secondary matches up with the Tampa Bay Bucks. This was one of the toughest picks for me because, look, the Bucks haven't been a good team all year. I mean, bottom line, they haven't been a good team all year. They did win 2 out of the last 3. The last game versus the Falcons, they're playing their starters, probably didn't really need to. And they looked fine when they're in there early. So I probably wanted to keep their rhythm. I just can't bet against Tom Brady. I mean, the bottom line is he's getting, 2.5 points here at home. I'm going to take the 2.5 points. I'm going to be on the side of Tom Brady here. and some of the woes that Dallas has faced on the road, it's hard to pick that team based on how they looked versus Washington and even points in time throughout the season. So I'm taking the 2.5 points here. It's really just more of a bet on Tom Brady at this point in time in the playoffs, given the fact that, again, 35-12. That's his record in the playoffs.
A lot of those 12 were when he got hit in the mouth a bunch. So
then that's fine. It's a great point, but there's 35 wins too.
I get it.
That are right there too, staring you in the face.
Quickly, best bets here. What do you got?
I'm
going there with your Buffalo Miami over.
Yeah, the Bills, Dolphins,
and the Giants. You like
pick the under.
Giants win.
Giants
win the game outright. You won't need the 3.
Okay, money line from Pete Prisco. All right, here's the picks recap from both Brady Quinn and Pete Prisco. Again, on the same side on games like the Bills and the Bengals, but on opposite ends there, including the Monday night game between the Bucs and the Cowboys. Want to remind everybody about Sportsline's live betting show with Eric Casillas and company, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm with you guys on Saturday afternoon, and then EK back on Sunday, typically with NFL, which we still have going on for the next couple of weeks.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.